Of any Jedi's transition into becoming a Sith, it is perhaps Count Dooku that takes the spot as being the most interesting case study. A man who truly believed in doing the right by the people of the galaxy, one who believed the Jedi values and treasured the ideals of hard work and excellence. Someone like this, enticed by the dark side after a series of disappointments and frustrations with the Jedi. In both legends and canon, Dooku would turn to the Sith for righteous reasons, wanting to expose the Jedi Order for how political they had become, and to protect those who truly needed it. However, in his path to dark power, he would make every sacrifice possible and render all of the nobility of his betrayal null and void, the dark side tainting all of his values. One of these sacrifices was the murdering of his childhood best friend, Sifo-Dyas. In Dooku's life, he would have a great many regrets. However, the killing of Jedi Master Sifo-Dyas was never one of them, and didn't seem to bother Darth Tyrannus at all. But why is this? And why did Dooku perceive the death of his old friend as one of his greatest triumphs? Somebody who he murdered in cold blood. So today, my friends, let us open up a holocron and find out why Dooku was so proud that he killed his best friend. The friendship between these two Jedi is not often talked about in any other context than the creation of the clone army. And that's definitely fair since we don't really get any characterization of Sifo-Dyas outside of his few brief appearances, mostly in the Legends novel Darth Plagueis and in the canon novel Dooku Jedi Lost. But what we have always understood was that Sifo-Dyas was an integral part of Dooku's life and his path. The two grew up in the temple together, with Sifo being Dooku's only friend as a youngling. A young Dooku was frequently picked on by the other students who were jealous of his skills and his talent, and they started giving him a hard time because of it, and it was usually Sifo-Dyas who came to his friend's rescue. The two were inseparable until it came time for them to take part in their respective paths under Jedi Masters, as this is where the first crack in their friendship would appear. Dooku had a twinge of resentment for Sifo-Dyas, as he was chosen to be the Padawan of a master that Dooku desperately wanted to train under, and who he greatly admired. However, his feelings of betrayal were more towards the master than for Sifo-Dyas, and as far as we're aware, the two would remain strong friends up until they both became Jedi Masters. Frequently seen as a public trio was Sifo-Dyas, Dooku, and Qui-Gon Jinn. The three of them were a close circle and a package deal most of the time. But it was around the same era that Dooku would lose both his closest friends, Qui-Gon to Maul, and Sifo-Dyas to his own hand. However, whenever Dooku looks back on his life like he did in Jedi Lost, he speaks plainly about Sifo-Dyas. There is a fondness for the time they shared together, but to Dooku, he is callous and very matter-of-fact, emotionless, as if he's doing something but recalling factual events, not speaking of an old friend. Unlike Qui-Gon Jinn, who he holds a great attachment to even as a Sith, he has distanced himself emotionally from Sifo-Dyas. He distanced himself emotionally so far that he gifted his lightsaber to General Grievous in Legends continuity, one of the most insulting things that he could have done with the memory of his old friend. After killing his friend and recovering the weapon, he would present it to the droid general as a gift for all of the progress in his training, and it was to be Grievous's first weapon of many. This goes to show how far removed Dooku's emotions are from Sifo-Dyas, since he despised Grievous, and it is astoundingly odd that he would just cast it aside to a lower level being instead of keeping it for himself. Dooku is on record stating how much he hates the way Grievous operates and duels, and yet he would see the weapon of his childhood companion be used like a barbarian by someone that he doesn't like or respect. But what's interesting is that this wasn't the only thing of Sifo-Dyas's that Dooku would give to Grievous. Dooku had kept his friend's body cryogenically frozen after he had died, and he spoke to it very mockingly and nonchalantly. There, Dooku asked his old friend, "Are you ready for your transplant, Master Sifo-Dyas?" The transplant he was speaking of was giving some of the Jedi Master's blood to Grievous for his cybernetic augmentation. It seems that Dooku doesn't consider the death of Sifo-Dyas to be any real loss. To Dooku, his friend fulfilled his purpose. He was a good Jedi and a good man. But now it was time for him to make a sacrifice, one on behalf of the betterment of the Jedi. In Dooku's mind, unlike Qui-Gon Jinn, who Dooku believed would have certainly joined him, he never believed that Sifo-Dyas would see things his way ever. After all, Sifo was a member of the Jedi High Council for a very long time, and he was too far gone in the Jedi path. and so Dooku likely saw it as a mercy to liberate him from his blindness, to murder him before the fall. If there was a part of Dooku that ever felt guilt over this action, it was stamped out by the welling darkness that was growing in his heart. While it definitely seems odd that Dooku cared more for Qui-Gon than he did his old friend who defended him to the very end, there is something to be said about the two of them having grown apart and on different paths since they were very young. Sifo-Dyas may have disagreed with the Council, but he largely stood by it. He was a member of it until his visions of the war got him removed. We all know the soreness that Dooku feels towards the Jedi Council in general, so they likely grew apart because of his affiliation and joining the Council. Dooku and Qui-Gon always saw things on the same level, and they agreed with one another. Dooku considered Qui-Gon Jinn a true loss because he felt that Qui-Gon would have joined him and would have been a great asset to the Sith cause. It is never suggested that Dooku outright hated Sifo-Dyas, but he was definitely quick to move on behalf of killing him. All of this shows him gloating over his friend's dead corpse and even giving away his lightsaber, as well as his body, to a cyborg. This suggests that Dooku was prideful that he had killed Sifo. As we all know, in order to properly become a Sith initiate, it requires a sacrifice of something, or more commonly, someone that one cares greatly about in order to represent the murder of a past life. This is to teach the meaning of loss and pain. It is also to see if you are properly devoted to the dark side and the Sith. Dooku had already experienced loss when he lost Qui-Gon Jinn. However, he needed to make an act of betrayal himself in order to facilitate his commitment to the Sith way and to tie himself to Sidious. Since Dooku was fully on board with getting rid of the entire Jedi Order, Sidious needed to make sure that he was willing to do so. And by being a former Jedi, Sidious could allow no soft spots in Dooku for his old comrades. The finest way to test this was to knock out two birds with one stone. Plagueis had already laid the groundwork with Sifo-Dyas in convincing him that he needed to take action against the Jedi Council and create a clone army. Sifo-Dyas had the idea planted in his head by Plagueis, and he was led by Sidious to the place in order for the clone army to be facilitated, and the Kaminoans to construct the army under his name. Now that his purpose was fulfilled, he was going to be heading out on a secret mission to Obadiah. Dooku then had him shot out of the sky by the Pike Syndicate, fulfilling his test given to him by Sidious, removing what little remained of the good Jedi Master Dooku. And Dooku did it with pride. He was happy to destroy his friend. He saw his friend as a lost cause. He was happy to destroy the very beginnings of the end for the Jedi High Council. A truly cruel and horrific, brutal moment from Dooku, showing him no remorse during or afterwards by giving Sifo-Dyas his lightsaber and his blood to a monster that would kill many other Jedi. One of the most insulting things anyone has ever done with a comrade's lightsaber. But my friends, what do you think of this? What do you think of the relationship between Sifo-Dyas and Dooku, and how it differs from his relationship to Qui-Gon Jinn? Thank you so much as always for stopping by the channel today, and may the Force be with you.